main event today, my interview with Bill Maher. He is a comedian and a talk show host, and also, in my mind, one of the most astute political observers of this era. Maher is the host of Real Time on HBO and HBO Max. HBO and CNN are, of course, both part of Warner Brothers Discovery. I was a guest on his show on Friday night, then turned the cameras around on him. Bill Maher, welcome to the show.
Great to be here as always.
So your final commentary, the new rules in your Friday show.
You were there.
You talked about something that I think is very important, which is why does the American electorate not seem to realize that in some very important sense democracy is on the ballot, in the sense that you have these very large number, hundreds of Republican candidates who are saying that the last election was fraudulent, who seem determined to, who say things like, we're going to make sure the Republicans always win. Why is this not a bigger issue?
Well, it's definitely going to happen, first of all. But it's not a bigger issue because you can't convince people that they're going to miss something that they never knew they had to begin with. We stopped teaching history, we stopped teaching civics in this country a long time ago. People have no idea about checks and balances, a lot of them. They have polling on this, the three branches of government. There's three? Okay, great. What are they? So it's very hard to scare people about something they don't know exists to begin with. And people live day to day. Crime, inflation, that's the kind of stuff that's, the price at the pump and all that. I get it. It's important stuff. And all the woke stuff that they don't like, that's driving people away from the Democratic Party. This is just too abstract. And again, we just didn't prepare people when they were young to understand what democracy is.
And it feels like it's happening around the world, though. In Brazil they had this election, and Lula won, but by 1 percentage point. Or if you look here, I'm struck by how can it be that Herschel Walker is tied with Warnock?
Well, I did a whole thing on that a couple of weeks ago. I think what it is that the worse the candidate is on the Republican side, and he's, in the same vein as Trump himself, who, obviously, stole from charities, had a fake university, made fun of the handicapped, had sex with porn stars when his wife was nursing their child. Just horrible things. And that guy in Alabama, Judge Roy Moore, who used to go to the mall and the kid. It just is, the worse the candidate is, I think the more it says to a certain kind of voter, let us show you how much we don't like what you're selling. Right. We will vote for anybody who doesn't have a D by their name because we just don't like your socialism, your identity politics, your sort of weird loathing, self-loathing for being white, which is not really helping minorities or anything. It's just sort of a kink, I think. Some of the stuff that goes on in the schools trying to get kids who are way too young to appreciate ideas about race and gender that should come later in life. I've been saying it for years. The Democrats just, to a lot of people, strike them as the party of no common sense. And I think you said it on my show Friday night. If you can't get common sense across to people, they're not going to believe you economically.
Well, what about abortion? That has surprised me, the degree to which I thought that this was a social issue.
Me too.
Which would help Democrats.
I'm surprised about it too. I guess part of it is that people just very quickly got used to the idea that we're going to live in a country where it's legal some places and not others. There are medical tourists that go on all the time in the world. If you need a gallbladder operation and you're in Riyadh, you go to Cleveland. Right. It's not, people go to Canada all the time. They go play. So I guess they just kind of absorb that very quickly. Like, oh, if I need an abortion, it is kind of a big operation, I'll go to California. And they just kind of took that in. And these other issues went to the fore. And also, maybe they got it through their heads. You can prevent pregnancy. Look, I'm pro-choice, but, you can. And I guess they just figure they're going to be a little more safe or go out of state or something. That it was not a insuperable problem.
It also seems like, and we've known this. At the end of the day, with these social issues, it always nets out to the Republicans. In other words, the intensity of feeling seems to be greater on the pro-life side. Yes, a lot of people are pro-choice, but is it the single issue on which you will vote? That it seems to motivate more people on the right than the
It's
left.
interesting. They used to say that the electorate was really economically conservative and socially liberal. It might be the opposite. Economically, they want the free money.
Yeah.
They want the handouts.
Yes.
They're actually economically quite liberal, as in give me my goodies. And socially, a little more conservative.
You're absolutely right. Because think about what has happened to the parties, right? The Republican Party has moved left on economics. They're doling out money. The days of balanced budgets are long gone. And that's been fine and easy to do. The Democratic Party has more difficulty moving right on culture, getting to a centrist position, right? They're pandering to their liberal groups, right? And that's why the Republicans do a bit better, because they've been able to move very easily to where the public is.
I mean, Biden had the TikTokers into his office about a week ago as a kind of a Hail Mary, I guess, with this election, because that, generation doesn't vote very much, but, if they do, they think they're going to vote Democratic. And he went all in on gender reconstructive surgery, which, that generation thinks is kind of the civil rights movement of their time. But, for the people who I've tried to convince that Biden is a centrist, I kind of get it when they see something like that and they say, what do you mean Biden's a centrist? Here he is going all in on this issue. He just completely sold out. And I say sold out because America is kind of an outlier on this issue now. I mean, the UK, Sweden, lots of countries are saying, of course, we're liberal places, just as I am, just as this country is. We believe trans is a real thing. We're not saying that. We're just saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. I think the UK put it in words and say, some of this stuff is trendy. Teenagers can be trendy. It can't be that, I made this point, that you can't have it that, like, for some reason, it's just so much more popular in liberal areas. Why would it be regional if it's a biological issue? Just to stop and ask this question, or questions like this, without being called phobic. And if he had just done a kind of a sister soldier thing there and said, look, I'm a liberal guy. I believe trans is a real thing and people should have the full respect and dignity of anybody else in this country, but can we just pump the brakes a little on this issue? I think he would have done himself a lot of good, but it's just not in him.
Do you think it's not in him, or he's reading the electorate? Because the thing that strikes me strange about Joe Biden is, you remember when Obama picks him, Obama was picking him a little bit to balance the ticket to the right. In other words, Obama was seen as this,
Correct.
this black, maybe very liberal,
black,
and liberal.
Period. That's
and
what
also
it was.
people thought he was, very liberal. And
Not if they listened to him.
But then Joe Biden was this traditional white. Now he's clearly on policies to the left of Obama.
Yes, because the party moved there. And he does not want to go against what he sees as the base. And, I just think the Democrats are going to find out that that was not a great strategy.
Next on GPS,
what happens in 20...
More of my interview with Bill Maher, host of HBO's Real Time, as well as the podcast Club Random. Let's talk about all this cancel culture and stuff that you've been writing a lot about. What I want to ask you is it a particularly troubling issue for you as a comedian? Because, I mean, at some level, isn't every joke in some way offensive? I mean, you're trying to.
I mean, no, absolutely not for every comedian. Most comedians don't go near anything that's offensive. It's just not the way they work. It's not the kind of material that interests them. They're talking about other things. Me, yes, this is obviously has always been an issue with me, and but it's not just people in show business, not just famous people anymore who worry about cancel culture. There are a lot of people, I don't know, going through their high school yearbook, like, oh my God, did I wear a sombrero and at the prom or something? And I mean, lots of regular people have been canceled for things. Some guy says, I don't know, just something he thinks is innocuous. Right. It's not, he doesn't know. He's saying, well, white lives matter too. And he doesn't quite understand, he's not of that generation, why we want a particular focus, because black lives have always been more at peril. There's a reason why that was a saying and became an organization. And he gets canceled, and nobody just sat him down and said, hey, right. this. And he might have went, oh, okay, I get it. No, you're just gone. That's what people are just very tired of walking on eggshells in this country. That is something the Democrats are also fighting in this election. People don't like it. And, this is also part of why Elon Musk taking over Twitter is just such an enormous controversy with so many people. And 99% of Twitter employees voted Democratic. Even if you're a Democrat, you shouldn't think that's a good thing. To have a major, what really is a news organization, because people get their news from some place where the entire organization thinks one way, that's the very definition of groupthink.
Part of the problem is we're sorting ourselves into these two tribes, and it feels like college education and urban-rural are the two big dividers, where maybe religion would be the third. So you get these urban, college-educated, secular people on one side, and you get rural, more religious, less college education. And there's just so much tribal suspicion, hostility, it feels as if it's not really about issues anymore.
No, I keep trying to tell people who, don't even want to breathe the same air as a Trump voter, like, you can hate Trump. You can't hate all the people who voted for him. It's half the country. And on top of that, I really believe, I've always believed, being conservative is a personality trait before it's a political position. It's just something that's very innate. Think of some uncle you had. He was a great guy, you loved him, but he was just it was just in his blood. Like, some people are neat, and some people are messy, and some people are adventurers, and some people are cautious. It's just a personality, and then the politics comes in later. Now, some of it has to do with religion and where you live and the way you were brought up and stuff like that. But, there are just people who are going to be conservative, and you're going to have to live with them. You can't own them or destroy them. They're not going to self-deport, and they're about to take over the government. And they're not going to give it back.
So what is going to happen if let's assume both houses go Republican? Where there's a fair
this
chance.
Is what I was saying at the end of my show Friday. I felt the audience was stunned, as they should be. But they shouldn't be, because this has been going on for a long time, and I've been saying it for a long time. Yes, unless there's a oddity with the polling, it's going to be a very good day for the Republicans. As we both have mentioned, the majority of Republicans running for Congress, for Senate, for House, and for state houses, the people who are going to decide who is the president in 2024 are election deniers. They don't believe in this crazy idea that the guy with the most votes wins. So what happens in 2024 is Trump is going to try the coup he tried in 2020, which was plainly an attempted coup. There's no other way to look at it. But this time he's going to have in place this army of deniers who will support him. And he is going to show up. I promise you, I will bet every bit of money I have, he will show up on Inauguration Day on 2025, whether he's the winner or not. And then we'll see what happens. And then we'll see how much we look like other countries that we thought, oh, that could never happen to us. Yeah, it could. Yeah, it could.
And he may have thousands of people with arms.
As he did January 6th. You think they're going to stay home now that this has happened again and they have all these people in place that are on their side? Oh, no, my friend. It's going to be very interesting.
On that cheery note, Bill Maher.
I wish I had better news to report, but you asked me.
Thank you for doing this.
All right, my pleasure, always.